A long time ago, in Denmark, there was a king named Hrothgar. He was a successful and beloved ruler, and his kingdom prospered. One day, Hrothgar decided to build a grand hall called Heorot, where his people could gather for feasts and celebrations. The hall was magnificent, and people came from far and wide to see it. Hrothgar gave his guests gifts, and the sounds of music, laughter, and joy filled Heorot every day. But their happiness didn't last. A terrible monster named Grendel lived in the nearby swamps. One night, while everyone in Heorot was asleep, Grendel snuck into the hall. He grabbed 30 warriors, killed them, and carried their bodies away. When morning came, the people were heartbroken. King Hrothgar was filled with sorrow, and no one dared to sleep in the hall anymore. For 12 years, Grendel terrorized the kingdom. Every night he roamed the moors, attacking anyone he found in Heorot. The people were helpless to stop him. Far away in the land of the Geats, a brave warrior named Beowulf heard about Grendel. Beowulf was strong and fearless, so he decided to help Hrothgar. He gathered 14 of his best warriors and set sail for Denmark. When they arrived, a guard on the shore questioned them. Beowulf explained that they had come to defeat Grendel. The guard allowed them to pass, and soon they reached Heorot. Beowulf and his men were welcomed into the hall, and Hrothgar was glad to see him. The king knew Beowulf as a boy and had heard of his strength and courage. Beowulf told Hrothgar, "I will fight Grendel with my bare hands. Either I will defeat him or he will kill me, but I am not afraid." Hrothgar thanked Beowulf and invited him to join a feast. That night, as everyone went to sleep, Beowulf stayed in the hall with his men, ready to face Grendel. Grendel arrived full of rage and burst into the hall. He grabbed one of Beowulf's men and killed him, but when he reached for Beowulf, the hero was ready. Beowulf grabbed Grendel's arm with a grip so strong that the monster couldn't escape. The two struggled fiercely, shaking the hall as they fought. Grendel, terrified and in pain, tried to flee, but Beowulf held on and ripped off the monster's arm. Grendel ran back to the swamp where he bled to death. The next morning, everyone celebrated. Warriors followed Grendel's tracks to the swamp and found that he had died. They returned to Heorot with joy, praising Beowulf for his bravery. Hrothgar gave Beowulf many gifts, including gold, a sword, and horses, to thank him for saving the kingdom. That night, as the people slept, Grendel's mother, a monstrous witch, came to Heorot to avenge her son. She killed one of Hrothgar's closest friends and stole Grendel's severed arm. The next morning, Hrothgar begged Beowulf to help again. Beowulf agreed and followed Grendel's mother's tracks to a dark, eerie lake. At the edge of the water, they found the head of the warrior she had killed. Without hesitation, Beowulf put on his armor and plunged into the lake. At the bottom of the lake, Beowulf found the witch's lair. She attacked him fiercely, and his sword couldn't harm her. Beowulf fought with his bare hands, but she was strong. Just when it seemed she might win, Beowulf saw a giant sword hanging on the wall. He grabbed it and struck her neck with all his might. The sword cut through her, and she fell dead. In the lair, Beowulf also found Grendel's lifeless body. As a trophy, he cut off Grendel's head. Then, carrying the head and the sword's hilt, the blade had melted. Beowulf swam back to the surface. His men rejoiced when they saw him alive. A hero's farewell, Beowulf returned to Heorot with Grendel's head. Hrothgar and his people were overjoyed. They held another great feast, celebrating Beowulf's victory. The king gave Beowulf more treasures and thanked him deeply for saving his kingdom. The next day, Beowulf and his men prepared to leave. Before departing, Beowulf promised to return if Hrothgar ever needed his help again. Hrothgar praised Beowulf, calling him a wise and noble man, and gave him even more gifts. Beowulf sailed back to his homeland, where he was welcomed as a hero. He gave all the treasures to his king Hygelac, who rewarded him with land and gold. Beowulf and the Fire Dragon. After Beowulf returned to his home in Geatland, he served King Hygelac faithfully until the king's death during an expedition to Friesland. Beowulf was with him on that trip and barely escaped with his life. When he returned home, poor and alone, Hygelac's wife, Queen Hygd, offered him the throne because she feared her young son, Herdred, couldn't protect it from enemies. But Beowulf didn't want the kingdom. Instead, he chose to help Herdred, offering him advice and serving him with loyalty. However, soon after, Herdred was killed in battle, and Beowulf agreed to become king of the Geats. Beowulf ruled wisely and well for 50 years, and his people prospered. But eventually, a terrible dragon began causing havoc. The dragon had guarded a treasure on a mountain for over 300 years. The treasure was originally hidden by thieves, and when they died, the dragon took control of it. One day, a poor man stole part of the treasure while the dragon was asleep. When the dragon woke up, he was furious and started searching for the thief. Finding no one, he began setting fire to the land. Beowulf's home was destroyed, and the fire spread everywhere until dawn. Beowulf was heartbroken by this disaster and vowed revenge. He didn't want to go after the dragon with a large army, preferring to face it alone, remembering his past victories, like his battle with Grendel. He made a strong iron shield because he knew a wooden one would burn in the dragon's fire. He took 11 warriors with him, following the thief who had stolen the treasure. When they reached the dragon's cave, Beowulf told his warriors to wait. He was determined to fight alone. He said, "I've fought many battles, and now I will fight this one. I know I can't fight the dragon like I did with Grendel, but I won't back down. Stay here and watch what happens. I'll either defeat the dragon or die trying." Beowulf entered the cave alone, armed with his iron shield, sword, and dagger. He called out to the dragon, and soon the monster emerged, breathing fire. Beowulf blocked the attack with his shield and struck the dragon, but his sword didn't work, and the dragon became even angrier. Fire shot from its mouth, nearly overwhelming Beowulf. His warriors watched from a distance, and one of them, Wiglaf, could no longer stand by. He rushed to help Beowulf, saying, "We promised to repay him for his gifts. We can't abandon him now." Wiglaf took up his shield and sword and joined the fight. The other warriors were too afraid to follow. As Beowulf fought, Wiglaf's shield was burned away by the dragon's fire, so he took shelter behind Beowulf's shield. Beowulf's sword broke, and the dragon attacked, nearly crushing Beowulf. But Wiglaf kept fighting, and together they weakened the dragon. Finally, Beowulf struck the dragon with his knife, and the beast fell dead. Beowulf was badly wounded, and knew he was dying. He asked Wiglaf to bring him water and said, "I've ruled for 50 years, keeping my people safe. I've never started unnecessary wars, and I hope the ruler of all men will forgive me when I die. Now, go into the cave and see the treasure I've won for my people." Wiglaf entered the cave and found a treasure beyond imagining. Gold, jewels, and beautiful treasures, including a shining banner. He took what he could carry and returned to Beowulf, who was close to death. When Beowulf saw the treasure, he was glad to know it would go to his people. "Now," he said, "burn my body on the hill by the sea and build a mound for me. Sailors will see it and remember me." He gave Wiglaf his armor and gold collar, saying, "You are the last of our kind, and I'm the last of my people." With that, Beowulf died. Wiglaf was heartbroken. The other warriors who had abandoned Beowulf came forward in shame. Wiglaf confronted them angrily. "You failed him when he needed you most. You will be shamed, and your land rights will be taken away." Wiglaf then told the other earls what had happened, and of Beowulf's wish to be buried with the treasure. They gathered around the dragon's body and mourned their fallen king. Afterward, they prepared Beowulf's funeral. The treasure was placed with him in the mound, and the warriors spent 10 days building it, making it visible from far away. They honored Beowulf by singing praises of his bravery and leadership. Thus, the people of the Geats mourned the death of Beowulf, who had been the kindest and bravest of kings. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.